We finally have some news about the game Intergalactic The Heretic Prophet. This is the first bit of news that we've heard about this game since its initial reveal, which was rather lackluster and led a lot to the gaming community going kind of wild on Maine when it comes to the reception of it. My personal take that it was really just kind of a meh trailer. It was really all just kind of vibes. It didn't really show much about the game or what it's about or what are we doing or really anything at all. But a recent leak has been going around online talking about some very interesting details about Intergalactic, talking about how it's a mix between Dark Souls and The Last of Us, but with combat from God of War, with a semi-open world traversal mechanic and a targeted release date. So if you want to know everything, make sure you stay tuned throughout the whole video to understand all the details. So just a disclaimer about the information we're about to share in this video, guys. It is leaked information, and like all leaks and rumors, it's best to take it with a grain of salt and not take it as actual direct truth, but interpret it more in a way to get the general idea of what they're looking to accomplish with Intergalactic, because with this trailer that we got, didn't really convey much about what the game is even about, which was my biggest issue with this. I saw, of course, a lot of people online go off and make their YouTube videos talk about the game being already dead on arrival, it's woke, all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, those vocal minority people who just want to be wild on Maine just for clicks and views and stuff like that. Like, let's be real, guys. Like, let's just actually hear it for what it is. It seemed like an interesting premise at least, but I was just saying from the trailer that we got from it, it didn't really show any gameplay. It didn't really reveal who the characters are or the world or the setting. It was just kind of like a snippet, a moment in time. This is likely like an early cutscene within the game, and they kind of just shared it with us. So that's probably why it just seems so confusing, but at least we got an idea of like what the type of style is. But again, we're getting off track. The Naughty Dog's own page, right, where you think the fans would be, that mass downvoted with 203,000 dislikes compared to 78,000 dislikes. Of course, I'm using the extension. It's not 100% accurate, but it gives you a general idea. Most reviews and reception was negative. But I go on, let's get right into those details. The leaker here says that they worked QA on builds from February until May, but they were not allowed to say much, but they were trying to give as much information as they could. They said, think The Last of Us 2 meets Dark Souls, not open world in an Ubisoft sense. It makes a nested sandbox, big areas with layers of traversal. Planet-side traversal equals a mix of glider, parkour, and these faith anchors you can link to unlock fast travel checkpoints. Combat is very good, satisfying feedback, several combos by stringing jumps and dashes into attacks. You can break limbs to handicap enemies and use special tools to inflict unique statuses. It's very similar to God of War 2018, but with less focus on combo juggling enemies. You can use weapons, including the pistol seen in the trailer, to target weak points, some of which can be seen while the enemy attacks. The effect of metal destruction, explosions, and particles is really well made. The bounty hunter protagonist talks with a dialogue wheel that's back but very sparse, and the player is still mostly alone. Several encounters are optional. You can stealth, avoid, even negotiate some enemies, or straight up just hack them. The planet is a tomb of failed civilizations. Think Elden Ring lore, but in space. Something cut the planet off from the rest of the galaxy 600 years ago, shortly after a techno cult implemented a planet-wide lockdown. Druckmann's script is heavy, like religious apocalypse fanfic meets hard sci-fi. There are cutscenes and several characters you interact with, but you can still piece together a lot of info by finding items, journal entries, and exploring. This was tested on a PS5 Pro dev kit, saying that the lighting engine is insane. Whole levels shift colors based on planetary phase throughout the game. Music goes from ambient drone to metal religious choir and then rock. There are relics that work like builds, but you can hold to and swap them, and those can be upgraded. And the final thing, launch window internally said to be late 2026, with a full cinematic trailer at the Game Awards 2025 if things go on. So that's a lot of information to break down right there. Again, let me reiterate saying that this is leaked information that has been unconfirmed, but it does seem to be rather credible, as it does kind of give out that vibe of what we expected, at least from my interpretation of this trailer. But again, take it all with a grain of salt, and rather than having specific information, kind of just take it as like the idea of like the general flow or general ideas that they're looking to accomplish with this game. because the trailer didn't accomplish any of that communication. Now, the first part of this leak saying that it's going to be like The Last of Us combined with Dark Souls, I could totally believe that, especially coming from Naughty Dog, which their last main game that people loved was The Last of Us. It was one of the best games they've ever created in gaming history, right? At least the first one. And mix it with Dark Souls, which I kind of would get that vibe, especially with this part of the trailer towards the end right here, where you see this boss-like character kind of get up. You see your main character push forward to go into a battle fight, and kind of seems like a kind of more circular battle zone that'd be kind of flat, like you would see like in a Dark Souls, or more recently they say like South of Midnight and things like that. So that would totally make sense for that kind of vibe. So I would say looks kind of credible. And the other part talking about the traversal and movement, I think I kind of fall in line with that as well. Again, follow me with this one, because we see in this scene right here again where the protagonist attacks the enemy, you see him use this rock over here on the left side as a bit of like leverage, which I think kind of implies a little bit more mobility available to the player to utilize, like can be actually more dynamic to be used in combat rather than just like a placeholder for cover and things like that. So that would be a really interesting thing that they can try to utilize. But this seems to be a little bit more of an open-ended Naughty Dog game than what we've seen previously. Because what we know from Naughty Dog are these crazy well-scripted environments and encounters, handcrafted type of experiences that are very linear. I mean, you do have your options to kind of go about the level how you want, but basically it's very much like you're going down this golden path of the game. But it seems like this one's gonna be much more open-ended and giving players more option to be able to engage with different encounters the way they choose so, which I think would be a really interesting break from what we've seen from them previously. And the rest of this leak really seems to be kind of just falling in line with what we already know about Intergalactic, because the rest of the leak kind of goes into discussing about like the 600-year cutoff, which they've talked about that previously when it comes to the tone and the environment that you're going to be kind of going into this universe for, right? And also talking about how like the graphics are going to be insane. I mean, Last of Us 2 looked insane for its time. Last of Us 1 looked amazing. Even the Uncharted games looked amazing for its time. And I would assume the same thing for Intergalactic as well, especially since this trailer being an in-game trailer, that it really just kind of showcases like, yeah, the graphics are going to be amazing because Naughty Dog knows how to do that really well. But a really important thing to keep an eye on is the reported leak of the release date being late 2026. Does that line up with what Naughty Dog has done previously? Well, let's take a look at the Last of Us Part 1 reveal, right? This trailer right here, which wasn't really that much of a revealing, but it really gave you at least an idea of what to expect out of this game, right? And actually create some interest. That it was revealed back in December 12th of 2011 to eventually be released in June of 2013. But that cadence was changed with The Last of Us Part 2. When you look at the revealed trailer for this game, it was released back in December of 2016 with the eventual release date of June of 2020. But if we all remember, the game was originally slated to release in February of 2020, but then didn't come out until June because, well, we had a little bit of a pandemic situation happen. Though I will say if the game was originally slated to release in February of 2020, that kind of just tells me that the game was probably supposed to release in 2019, likely that fall, but probably just needed that little extra time and polish to be able to make sure that the game was up and running in a state that was in a way that could be released without having too many bugs or issues. So a 2026 release date, I think, would make sense when it comes to Intergalactic, but it could easily fall behind because that's just what game development is like nowadays. And I actually would say that the Game Awards next trailer release would actually kind of make sense as you revealed it at the Game Awards, and would kind of create this cadence that you would want to see it again and be a yearly thing to kind of get maybe some actual gameplay and maybe a reveal of like the tentative release date of saying fall 2026 or something like that. I think it's kind of stuff we will see at the Game Awards, because it'd be weird to have the announcement here and then hear nothing the following year. And if that's the case, then we're definitely going to see a delay push probably until 2027. But what do you think about these leaks and rumors, guys? Do you think it's legitimate? Do you think Intergalactic is going to be an interesting game? Do you think we'll get a trailer release at the Game Awards? Let me know in the comments, guys. If you made this far, leave a red heart in the comment section. Let me know who the real ones are. And hopefully I made it to the end. I hope I earned your like, maybe even a subscribe. And I'll catch you all in the next one. If you guys want to see any videos from me recently, check them all out right here. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.